What does it mean to be a grown-up?
Drive cars.
Drives cars.
I don't know.
It's a lot of maturing, but figuring out life skills, understanding how to be on your own.
It means like you have more responsibility.
Going out on your own, having your own set of responsibilities, having people that depend on you.
How old do you have to be a grown-up?
I too.
Growing Together is brought to you by an underwriting grant from. Life-changing experiences can happen in a second. Like the moment you learn you're pregnant, the University of Kansas Health System maternity care team in Great Bend has 4 physicians, including 2 OBGYN and 2 family medicine physicians. Learn more at kansashealthsystem.com/Great Bend Maternity.
Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas, their goal is to make Kansans healthier. The Department of Pediatrics, our goal is to treat children and help them be well. So it's a natural partnership.
We're from here. We live in these communities. We get up out of bed every morning to make healthcare better in Kansas, and I can't think of a better way to do that for families and kids than by supporting K-Wichita Pediatrics.
Kansas Health Foundation, United Methodist Health Ministry Fund, Western Kansas Community Foundation, Northwest Kansas Economic Innovation Center.
At Southwind Bank, we are dedicated to helping generations grow, dream, and thrive. Southwind Bank, for generations. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Salina Pediatric Care at Salina Regional Health Center, offering care for infants, children, and adolescents. SalinaPediatricCare.com.
Danny and Janice Reichenborn, Wilson State Bank, La Pasadita Carniceria of Great Bend, and viewers like you, thank you.
In the blink of an eye, babies go from diapers to driving. How did that happen? Did I teach them enough to survive on their own? Today on Growing Together, the journey of adulting, helping children become prepared for navigating the ups and downs of adulthood.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I'm Holly.
Jessica.
Hi.
Melanie.
Hi.
Thank you all for coming. Welcome to Growing Together. So tell us, what are we hearing from kids as they approach adulthood?
Well, I work at Wichita State University, and so we have emerging adults, and they're transitioning from being at home to, sometimes moving away from home for the first time. And one of the things that we hear a lot of is about students' mental health. They're feeling lonely, oftentimes disconnected, and that's one of the things that we try and help our students with, is adjust to that transition and give them the tools they need to be successful.
And how would you say young people define adulthood now?
I would say it's just the ability to be prepared for life after high school, whatever that might look like for them. Some of the skills and stuff that we can do to build up as parents, as caregivers, as educators, and community along the way to help them.
I think that they're really looking to the adults in their lives to kind of create that definition, what their exposure is and what the environment is that they're navigating. I think they might have a lot of false narratives out there right now just because of all the social media and what they're seeing. So it's really up to us as their caregivers and positive role models in their lives to figure out what our values are. And we have to help guide what adulthood is going to be. Otherwise, they're going to get a lot of input from other outside sources.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about some emerging research concerning adolescence?
I can definitely attest to the technology, the social media. Of course, we've seen our children change greatly since that has been a big impact in their life. It's very important that we are navigating that and creating boundaries around those things and really being in tune to what our youth are being exposed to.
Yeah, and I think the research on the differences in generations is showing us that this generation is spending more time in the home and more time with their caregivers, less time being autonomous and, with their peers. So I think it is important that caregivers help navigate, these transitions. And then they're also struggling with that, trying to find that autonomy as well. So
really encouraging that safe risk taking. I think, again, with the anxiety that comes with social media and a lot of things that are going on, how do you encourage your child to kind of step out a little bit of their comfort zone, but yet making safe risks?
Perfect.
Here are some concerns of 18 to 25-year-old Kansans. They expressed a desire to know more about budgeting, saving, getting insurance, and applying for student loans. They wish they had learned how to interact with people from different backgrounds, cope with failure, how to interact socially, and deal with family separation. They understand that devices may be harming their memory and social skills, but also want older people to know that technology isn't always easier for them. Worries include managing their health and their money, and people's loss of respect for themselves and others. On a positive note, they are looking forward to independence, having their own families, finishing school, and working towards their goals.
We've heard from parents too, and we'll unpack some of the evidence-based approaches that families can use. My kids' friends have very few rules. How can I help my kids set good boundaries? How can I offer correction and keep cool when my teenager is mean to everybody? What should I let my kids do by themselves at certain ages? How do I help them handle money? How do you talk with them about healthy choices, anything from food, substance use, or sex? Let's start with what caregivers can do to encourage independence from elementary school to middle school to high school.
One of the things that we talk to our parents about at orientation is really just that transitioning to maybe being the one who's guiding things and making decisions for your child, to being more the coach, stepping on the sidelines and asking more questions about what they think they're wanting to do and how they might navigate this situation, asking if they'd like some advice, and encouraging them to really do more of that for themselves, like scheduling their own appointments, learning how to do the laundry. It's amazing how many of our parents say, I still do my kids' laundry when they come to college. So that's a skill they have to learn. So it's really, how do you kind of, when they're going into that emerging adulthood in the college realm, how do you step back a little bit more and kind of allow them to take some risks and maybe make some mistakes, because that's how we learn.
How would you say we should encourage risk-taking behaviors and the potential loss or failure that comes with that?
Yes, I think the earlier that we can say it's okay to make those mistakes, the better. So as you mentioned, chores from a very early age. I know our kids might groan, oh, why are you making me vacuum or do the dishes or help mow the lawn? But it was so funny. My son is just finished up his freshman year at K-State. And so I asked him some questions before this. And I said, what were some of the things that helped you as you were transitioning into college? And he was like, Mom, one of the best things that you did for me is you made me get a part-time job. So I think that's one of those risk-taking things, is something outside of the home, just knowing that they're not going to be perfect at whatever they do, but working with other adults too, because how many times did they get to college and they haven't had those chances to have a job, and they're faced with adults that are completely different than what was in high school, maybe kind of coddled a little bit. So yeah, some of the early risk taking is definitely helping them have a job. And also he said, Mom, some of the things that you guys did was, I would ask you, can I go do something crazy, like, stay out late and go to these parties? And of course, as parents, you said, absolutely not. So we talked about, we're not your best friend, we're your parents. However, there were some things that you let me do along the way that were safe. And we had good conversations afterwards, even if I did make mistakes along the way.
Speaking of conversations, would you mind demonstrating some effective techniques for starting those difficult conversations? Things like, substance use, sex, relationships.
Absolutely. So first of all, I really think it's important that as parents and adults, we do the work on ourselves Because if we aren't coming from a place of being regulated ourselves and understanding our own values and what we're really wanting our children to know, those conversations are going to be more difficult. So first, know yourself, what the values are that you want to put and instill in your kids. And then ask open-ended questions. Do the research. Know what popular questions there are. Don't ask questions that give a yes or no answer, because that's what you will get is yes or no. Ask about your child's interests, where they see themselves next year. What are the different things they want to try? You have to be having those types of conversations before you can get into more difficult ones. If you aren't having the basic conversations about your child's day-to-day life and being truly present with them, that's going to make those conversations way harder. So make sure you're laying the baseline and that foundation for those conversations. And always open those conversations with, I want to hear your input, your opinion, before instilling your opinion or judgment about the situation.
What approach would you suggest with a teen who's maybe not so keen on listening to their parent or caregiver?
I think this is common. We're not always seen as being liked by our child. We have to be prepared for that they may not like us. They may say some things that feel quite hurtful, but we have to remember that we're the adult. We are their caregiver, and we want what's in their best interest. So just always keep that first and foremost and love them through it.
And sometimes we have to understand as parents or caregivers that we may not be the best person for that situation, and that's okay. There are a lot of other people out there that are willing to talk to our students. They may develop relationships with their coaches at schools, their teachers, their school counselors. So just allowing that space for them to find that person to connect to and then bringing it back into conversation later.
I would also say create those villages for your children, because they may hear it, the same thing you've said over and over, they may hear it differently from someone else that you've entrusted to be a part of that village for your kids. Like you said, the coaches, the teachers, the people from your church, community, make sure you're creating your village for your family and your children.
And when you were talking about the conversation, you know, how we can avoid passing judgment right away. And there's sometimes they'll say something and you're like, oh, but that's an opportunity for you to maybe get curious and just ask more questions to try and understand maybe where they're coming from. And I think that will keep the dialogue open.
Yeah. And there's sometimes as a parent, when we're faced with those situations, we need to take a step back too. And that's part of that co-regulation and modeling. That may not be the best time to have that conversation. So it's maybe going and getting a pop together, taking a walk together, whatever you guys might like to do together versus just sitting there face to face, because sometimes they do shut down in those situations.
Yeah. And you can always say, thank you for telling me. Yes. I need to take time to think about this. Yes. You don't have to have an answer or fix it in the moment.
Jessica, would you mind answering what are some effective ways to encourage career exploration and the different kinds of options our kids do have once they reach that age?
Well, I really encourage folks to use their career and college counselors at the school. I mean, oftentimes taking skill and talent kind of interest surveys can give you some good feedback on things that you enjoy and things that you like and what you're talented in. So getting that kind of information, utilizing those resources at the school, and then many of your colleges or two-year technical schools may also have a career counselor there as well. And I think forming those relationships early, learning about what it is that you're interested in, taking a bit of a wide variety of classes, and then figuring out which ones are really grasping your attention and kind of going deep with those, and then learning all that you really need to know to help prepare yourself for the career that you want. You know, you want to make sure that you're taking the right classes before you figure out, oops, this isn't going to get me into that program that I'm interested in. So really just make a strong relationship with those departments, those professionals in your life that are there to help you with it, and utilize those resources.
It's always okay to change your mind too.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you may like one thing one year, the next semester, having that ongoing exploration and be willing to learn and be curious, because There's a lot of jobs out there you wouldn't even think would be a job. So what are your interests? And it's okay to change your mind.
Kansas has what's called the Individual Plan of Study. So this is an opportunity from pretty early on, middle school on, sometimes even earlier than that, for students to really do some of that exploration that you're talking about. And then at parent-teacher conferences, it's so important to show up to those because a lot of times they're sitting there talking about your individual plans of study, and you're going to learn stuff about your student, your child that you didn't know. So great conversations to have.
Speaking of careers and, preparedness for the future, how do we teach our kids about money?
Yeah, it doesn't grow on trees. No. That can be difficult because there's so much invisible money out there, right? Cashless systems, they think that it's just there on a card, true budgeting. So really starting small, understanding how much a dollar really is worth, what do things really cost, understanding a basic budget. Those things are really important to start early with your kids, and really evaluating what things cost. And it takes a lot.
I would say early and often.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the chores and having at least a part-time job or some kind of responsibility. So they start from an early age to learn how to budget their money versus, hey, I have all this money, I can just go spend it. But the importance of starting to save and how that will help their credit later on.
So as our child moves towards independence and moves, closer to young adulthood and away from adolescence, what kind of adjustments can families make to recognize them as an adult?
Keeping on the topic of finances, it could be sitting down and having a conversation about turning over some of those responsibilities, whether that be gas cost or car insurance, but just turning over some of those responsibilities and making a plan on, okay, now this is going to be something that's going to be your responsibility now, and doing that gradually.
Yeah, I think very gradually is really important. It can't be all or nothing. This has to be a gradual process, like you said. Maybe start with your fuel, providing for that. Well, if you think that eating out is important, you will need to cover that. So just very gradual. So they're learning how to make these decisions, and then balancing, well, what choice do I want to make here? Or is there something specific I want to save for? What is a goal they want to save towards as well?
I think you can be really transparent as well about the goal of that. You want to become an adult, and that's what we want, and these are steps to help you get there. It's not like, okay, now this is just your responsibility, but this is a process that we're going to work on together to help you be prepared.
Any last words of encouragement for those who are in the thick of raising children?
Don't be afraid to ask for help. We don't know all the answers. And don't think that your child's perfect, nor are they going to be. So really work on knowing your values, setting up your village, and always ask for help, whether that be personal, spiritual, or professional. It's okay to do all of those things and more.
I think that's great advice. I think trying to manage our own mental well-being and managing our own stress will just, produce better results for those that we're trying to help, our families, our kids, our colleagues. So
parenting isn't easy.
No.
It's not. So just like you guys said, make sure we have a village around us.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for this wonderfully productive conversation today.
Thank you.
Helping our children grow up isn't something that we can plan perfectly, but today we've heard about some resources that can help us to be more intentional in how we mentor our youth. Let's highlight some of our guests' recommendations.
I personally love Dr. Dan Siegel. He has a website. He's wrote some amazing books about the whole brain child. A great resource and ways to balance the things you're doing in your life as well. So a lot of great resources on his website.
Yeah, one resource that we developed at Wichita State University is the Suspenders for Hope program, and it's really about empowering communities to support one another and uplift each other during times of distress. There's some great free resources and training on the Suspenders for Hope website, as well as the Active Minds chapter is a mental wellness resource for many different higher education universities. Will have a chapter there, and they've got a lot of great resources on how to navigate that time in your life.
Speaking of hope, I'm going to grab my book here. As you guys can see, this book was absolutely life-changing to me. This is called Hope Rising, How the Science of Hope Can Change Your Life, and how important hope in action is. And as caregivers, we have to take care of our hope in action so that we can help our students and our families, because it's all about helping understand that there's going to be obstacles, there's going to be barriers along the way, and how do we get around those barriers versus just avoid them. So just an amazing book. And there's Hope Rising Oklahoma that is specifically geared towards parents as well. So amazing resources to have great conversations with your family.
Wonderful. Any others to add?
Oh, there's a ton out there. But, always look into your local resources, talk to your primary care physicians, mental health resources, talk to your children's school. There's tons of resources out there in every community. You just have to find the right people to talk to and get those answers.
Yeah, I want to echo that. The local resources, I think, can be so helpful because they know they can be the bridge to connect you to other resources. And many universities and colleges will have a parent and family chapter that families can get involved in. And then there's other parents that are sharing great tips. And at Wichita State, we have a newsletter, and we have different events, and we have a Facebook page, and we really encourage families to get involved that way to learn more about what their students are going through and how to help them navigate that transition.
A lot of times your school counselors have wonderful local resources on their website, so I recommend contacting them.
Perfect. Well, once again, we just want to thank our guests, Melanie Scott, Dr. Jessica Provines, and Holly Creamer, for having a great conversation with us today.
Thank you.
To connect with more parenting topics, check out our website and social media. For Growing Together, I'm Dallas Arp.
Growing Together is brought to you by an underwriting grant from. Life-changing experiences can happen in a second, like the moment you learn you're pregnant. The University of Kansas Health System maternity care team in Great Bend has 4 physicians, including 2 OBGYN and 2 family medicine physicians. Learn more at kansashealthsystem.com/Great Bend Maternity.
Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas, their goal is to make Kansans healthier. The Department of Pediatrics, our goal is to treat children and help them be well. So it's a natural partnership.
We're from here. We live in these communities. We get up out of bed every morning to make healthcare better in Kansas, and I can't think of a better way to do that for families and kids than by supporting Wichita Pediatrics.
Kansas Health Foundation, United Methodist Health Ministry Fund, Western Kansas Community Foundation, Northwest Kansas Economic Innovation Center.
At Southwind Bank, we are dedicated to helping generations grow, dream, and thrive. Southwind Bank, for generations. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Salina Pediatric Care at Salina Regional Health Center, offering care for infants, children, and adolescents. SalinaPediatricCare.com.
Danny and Janice Reichenborn, Wilson State Bank, La Pasadita Carniceria of Great Bend, and viewers like you, thank you.